Let it get prepared, and then please tell me when you see that live button on onto your screens. Anyone just shout it. Let me know.
Yeah.
It's on, yeah.
I can see, yes.
Lovely. Okay,
It's
but
three.
nothing will be on now because the broadcast is not started. I haven't started the broadcast yet, so that is fine. Let's see on the chat only. Amit, boss, you're in charge. You know that. आपको देखना है, सब देखते रहना. Chat. Nobody should be able to chat with anyone. Uh, just make sure that we know that chat. Nobody can chat. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we are on 3-1. I'm going to go live now, guys, and I'm just going to take like a couple of minutes to while all the 142 of them today, only 100 can come show up, so we're okay. On the count of 3, 2, 1. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is LinkedIn Local India online. Yet again, another Wednesday, another session. And this time we are here to talk about managing a virtual workforce. Couple of points before we actually hand over the baton to Vivek to start this webinar. There has been a medical emergency at SAP in the US. So it's all hands on deck with SAP here in India as well. So Raksha Agarwal sends her apologies. She says that, she can't be here today. She was very excited to be here, but unfortunately she can't. And such are the times and days that, we can't really do much about these things. So we will respect that. We hope the team member in, question is fine or will pull through whatever medical emergency they are going through at this time. So our thoughts and our prayers are with them and with the extended SAP family in the US here and here in India. Couple of things also to bring to notice here for the attendees is, please, this webinar is for you, as you know, by all means. By now, everybody knows that. So please keep those questions coming in into the question and answer section into the webinar, at the bottom. Everybody pretty much knows by now where that is. I will just take a couple more minutes to sort of bring you up to speed in terms of what else is going to be happening in the next couple of weeks from now. So today we are on 20th May, and here we are for managing a virtual workforce webinar. After this, on the 22nd, we have a collaborative webinar along with our DNI partner, Pride Circle. June is Pride Month. So on 22nd of May, that is 2 days from now, we are doing a walkthrough webinar to talk about 21 Days of Ally Challenge, which is basically global gamification of allyship for individuals and companies, where we will be taking you through how to be an ally champ in your own capacity, or how you can start these conversations at your workplace. So that is on 22nd of May. On the 25th of May, we have yet another session of Veteran Spotlight, and it gives me rather great delight to say that I'll be talking to or in conversation with a dear friend of mine, Dr. Major Rupinder Kaur. So watch out for that. Veteran Spotlight is on every Monday night at 9 p.m. So be there on Monday. After that, we have a leveraging LinkedIn session coming up on the Wednesday, which is 27th of May. And before that, on the 26th of May, IEEE, another concern that we totally support, is doing a webinar with the heroes of from the forces. So these are veterans from all Army, Navy, and Air Forces, and moderated by our very own dear Colonel Amit Verma, retired here. So I'm looking forward to that one. So that is what we are all about for this next few days. We are back on the 29th with a Community Connect via LinkedIn Live. Again, time to be decided in whether it is a working day or not. So with that, pretty much this is what is happening in the LinkedIn Local India online world. And I think we have pretty much a lot of people here now. So let's officially begin. And I will hand the baton back to Vivek to take us through the motions of starting this webinar officially. Welcome, everyone. This is Preeti Chaudhary here, your co-host, along with Colonel Amit Verma and Vivek Chadha. All yours, Vivek.
Thank you, Preeti. Let's begin. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you today. It gives me immense pleasure to announce the 6th LinkedIn Local webinar. Our theme for today's webinar is managing a virtual workforce. My name is Vivek Chadha, and I, along with Preeti Chaudhary and Colonel Amit Verma, will be your host for today. We have been almost 2 months into the lockdown, and none of us were prepared to manage things either professionally or personally. Neither were the organizations. However, some adapted faster than others. Today, we are going to talk about what strategies have worked for the organizations and have allowed them to manage the new norm, and even some ideas that did not work out so well. My sincere gratitude to all the leaders of the industry who are with us today and have given us a chance to listen to their experiences and learn from them. For any questions, the panel will take them up when we start the Q&A, and you can keep them ready and put them in the Q&A box that you see right at the bottom of your screens. I thank all of you again to come and participate in the 6th LinkedIn Local webinar and hope that you derive immense value from the same. So without much further ado, I request Preeti to introduce LinkedIn Local to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivek. So once again, LinkedIn Local is a LinkedIn property. It's an online to offline concept wherein we provide a platform to all members who are a part of LinkedIn professional networking site to meet and learn from each other in a physical form. There are multi-chapters and multi-cities in the country wherein we do knowledge share sessions in the form of fireside chats or panels or a keynote or town halls or even attendees meeting up and learning from each other. With these unprecedented times, all we have done is take those sessions online. So here we are for a virtual version of our LinkedIn Local India online, wherein we connect, communicate, and collaborate. So welcome to one and all of you to be here. Thank you so much for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us. And I hope it will be a learning experience and you take back some certain takeaways from this afternoon. So with that, I invite Colonel Amit Verma to please introduce himself and we will begin the proceedings after that. Amit?
Thanks, Preeti. It's been a tremendous journey for me since August 2019 with LinkedIn Local India. It's almost like yesterday when I met Vivek at the Goldsook Mall in Gurgaon when I was doing my transition. And it's been always a thing of learning that whenever we are doing these webinars and the way we are able to give back to the community, especially in these challenging times. Looking forward to a great interaction today.
All right, so let us introduce the panel with us. We have a stellar panel today. Among us are Jovina, Priyanka, Madtha. She is in Bangalore. She's the Director of Human Capital at UnitedHealth Group. We have Vinay Trivedi from Bangalore. He's the Head HR at ToneTag. We have Gautam Shetty from Bangalore. He's the India Talent Acquisition Lead at Maersk Global Service Centers. We have Dr. Ankita Singh from Ahmedabad. She's the Senior Vice President and Global Head of HR at CIGNEX Datamatics. And we have Aditya Singh from Bangalore, and he's the Head Talent Acquisition at Informatica. I heartily welcome all our panelists. Preeti.
Thank you so much for that, Vivek. So with all the introductions underway, with the theme set in, now all it means is basically we invite the panel to come and talk about their views of the topic today. So with that, let me remind the attendees once again, please. While you are listening to the experts, make sure that you formulate those questions, let them keep coming into your minds. And at the same time, please start putting them down in the question and answer box in the bottom of your screen, just under where all these tiles with all the pictures are. This webinar is yours. So the question and answer section is going to be live. Please make sure that you do write them and take them up as and when. So with that reminder, let me remind you of the topic once again, dear attendees. It is managing your workforce virtually. So managing your workforce in a virtual avatar or virtual world. And I would like to invite Vinay to start the deliberations and come up with his views. What has worked for ToneTag, what hasn't, what one mustn't do, and more than what one should do, along with maybe one hope and one fear, as we enter restart 2 or lockdown 4 that everybody's calling it. Please help us with your views and everything else. Vinay?
Sure. Thank you very much for getting all of us on these discussions regularly. I think the platform has been doing fantastic in terms of getting a lot of good issues being discussed. So an excellent job done by all of you there, and thank you very much. This whole virtual workforce and how are we going to manage this virtual workforce, we just like a lot of exaggeration in our lives. I mean, because we're not out in traffic, we want drama online. So, we want to start predicting, oh, now we are going to have all virtual workforce. Now, how do we manage them? What's going to happen? Engagement's going to change. This is going to change. I mean, we just love doing that, right? I mean, doomsday, we want to predict how, this large crisis is going to really evolve and multiple things. Okay. Uh, I think we need to understand two or three fundamental things when we approach any change. And that's not just to this pandemic or what's going to happen, but it's in general, how you approach change management, largely as an HR community, because we are often at the forefront of driving it. Okay. Um, we need to walk the talk. That's the first thing. When I say we need to walk the talk, now, for example, because everybody is working from home, even if trust was one of the core values in a lot of organizations, they would still keep pinging employees saying that you have logged in 10 minutes late. There'll be automated emailers going that you've come half an hour late, you will be marked absent. So many rules, regulations, etc., etc. While we say that we have an open culture, but we also would have a list of do's and don'ts, etc., etc. I think what this will do is bring about greater trust in people. Because you don't have a choice. You have to trust your employees when they're working virtually. So I think trust is definitely going to be at the forefront of driving this change of managing a virtual workforce. I think, I do not sort of overemphasize, but I keep talking about this. A lot of common sense will become common again because, people will start approaching things logically. Okay. I definitely think it's a great thing when you have to manage a workforce virtually, because I don't have to go drive people to do a rangoli and do a workstation decoration and whatnot. And, I used to hate crafts when I was in school myself. I'm an HR, but I used to hate every crafts class. I would ask myself, why are they even making me do something in crafts and drawing? My drawing used to be standard: mountain, tree, cloud, river, like a standard drawing. And that I've done for all the years in all the exams, right? So a lot of people do not understand this concept. So I think a lot of that will change. And that will change in a positive way, because you will start appreciating simple things in life that will drive people. And as you manage workforce, you will realize that a virtual workforce, you will realize that you're dealing with human beings. Earlier, we would call them as resources. We would call them as employees. We would call them as people who needs to be engaged. We would use that as a tick mark. I think now we will start getting the human element back, because you're suddenly not in constant touch with human beings as you would otherwise be. So the whole human element that we talk about will be much more now from an empathy standpoint, from a standpoint of treating people, well. So I think a lot of these things will be good. But this is not permanent, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we will go back to normal days, and sooner than I hope later. We will definitely get back into action the way we were. It's just a matter of time that we have to walk this. So my biggest hope really is that we get back to normalcy sooner than later. And my fear really is, I hope we don't start doing stupid things in the name of managing a virtual workforce. Like I've seen, some checklists that have been floating around on managing remote workforces, saying that please take care of yourself, but be available on phone. Please do not overexhaust yourself, but make sure that you are online all the time. I mean, there is so much of things that are hypocritical that I see. I think my fear is, if this continues, a lot of that will become a norm, and that should not be the case.
Right. Thank you so much for that. And you said one of my favorite things, bring the human back into the HR space. And I know, Vinay, from knowing you for such a long time, that you are the greatest proponent of that. And I absolutely love that, bring the human back into the whole thing. So thank you very much for that, for leading that from the front at ToneTag. Again, a little reminder for the attendees, please keep those questions coming in, keep listening, keep internalizing, write them down in the question and answer box. And just to remind everyone, of the theme again, especially for the panelists again, it is all about managing a virtual workforce. And I would like to invite Jovina next to talk about what has been happening in United Health Group, what have been the major learnings, along with one hope and one fear when we come out on the other side of this, whenever this is going to be. Jovina? One second, please. Let me unmute you. Can you unmute yourself, please? There you go.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you. Today's example is one of those examples where, everything goes wrong and yet you have to be ready. I've been having issues with the problem. The transformer is off. My act is not running up. And you have to find solutions on the go. Today is one such day and a great example. And I'm happy that we are meeting today because it is more closer to home right now and it's pinching me. Nonetheless, when we started with the news of COVID coming through to us around January, February, we were a little worried, and Kerala, the numbers started increasing. And the workforce that we have, about 100% of them come to office to work. And so we are a typical work from office organization. We are not a work from home organization. We are skeptical. We were rigid about it, and we never thought we had any other choice or opinion or a way of working around. So suddenly when you are pushed against the wall, we started prioritizing. We started ensuring that we were ready. So even before the lockdown or the news started coming up about 2 weeks ago, we started working on ensuring that we had a kind of a group who went and worked from home. We selected about 40-50 people. They went and worked from home, and by Sunday, when we had the first tryout of the lockdown, we had about 150 people working from home. We were optimistic. And then about a week later, we had about 70% of our people working from home. And we do not have a laptop organization. We are a completely system-driven organization with 2 monitors. So you can imagine the amount of transportation, the entire work being carried from office out without the employee taking charge of his or her own machine and doing it remotely. But what it taught us was it taught us resilience. It taught us the ability to think on the feet. It taught us to prioritize. And all through United Health Group, even in the CEO's address to the organization, we've learned about 4 or 5 important things. Number one is we have learned that in our prioritization, sometimes looking just at the immediate is very important in situations and times like this, right? So one is prioritize. The second most important thing is it has taught us speed and agility. We have to think on the feet. This is a new environment. You cannot say that this is how it's going to be. It has to be thought on the feet. So speed and agility, the ability for us to build out programs, to make our employees feel comfortable, to tell that we understand, that we are able to take risk, that we are able to trust them, and bring the speed and agility into it. Another important thing that has come into foray is our ability to bring our digital collaboration live. So everything that went on a back burner for a couple of months and said, oh, we'll inaugurate this in July or June, we had to backtrack and bring it into existence immediately. So what happened was that there was a push towards digitization and collaboration on digitization as soon as possible. It also brought in better processes and systems into place, because right now we have to trust and believe what is happening on the other side. So the digitization. Another important thing that came into foray was our ability to communicate right from the CEO downwards. And we ensured that the communication moved from down, from the top to the bottom and not the other way around. And we ensured that we were speaking the same thing, whether it was in the United States or in India or anywhere across the world, right? We were speaking the same language. We were talking about our values. We were talking about living our vision. And so communication and even our chief medical officer, Dr. Migliori, he himself was sending notes. He was giving us assurances and how our healthcare system would work for our members and so on and so forth. So umpteen amount of communication. And another thing was the fifth element that we drove, and I think that was very, very evident, was transparency. We faltered, we thought about a particular date, we went back and we said we're sorry. Our employee engagement surveys, we call it the employee experience surveys, which were supposed to come out, came later because we prioritized differently. Our policies and programs in terms of pay, we stood by it. And if there was a little bit of delay because we're taking other priorities, we were very transparent in our communication. I think while we go further from here and work from home becomes a part of our lives, I think these learnings of prioritization, speed and agility, digitization, transparency and communication have helped us and will help us in the future. Uh, there's another thing that I want to say right now is that within a month we were at 94% of capacity working from home, and we had a productivity of 93%. And that is something that we never thought of. We had brought down our productivity down to 75 first and then 85, but we're surprised when we reached 93. So it was a very, very surprising thing that happened. And right now we think that this is the way to go. So we're thinking about making work from home a process and a policy for the organization.
Thank you for that so much. It from a traditional organization moving on with the times to getting your act together in terms of doing a hybrid model. I think that is really commendable. And I would like to bring to everyone's notice here today's panel sort of addresses a diversified group of domains. So there is somebody here from the logistics, there's somebody here from the healthcare, financial service, software, ERP. You've got a whole gamut, a whole sort of an 363-degree view of what it could all be about for these industries here. So attendees, please make the most of it. I'm sure there are a lot of HR folks that are here today to learn from what the other organizations are doing in terms of this transition, how to go about it. Take a sort of leaf out of the learnings from everybody that is here, and then maybe enable and enhance your own organizations when you go back from here today, a different person. So with that, I would invite Gautam, but before that, once again, dear attendees, please let those questions keep coming in. This webinar is absolutely for you. We want to have a very interactive and informative question answer section. So please, please, please do write all those questions here. I'm moving on to Gautam now, who would be again sharing his views about the topic, which is managing a virtual workforce, along with including one of his hopes and fears when we come out of the other side. Thank you, Gautam. All yours.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Gautam. I manage talent acquisition for Maersk. And for those who don't know what Maersk is, we are a company which is an integrator of container logistics and one of the biggest shipping conglomerates in the world. We are around 80,000 people across the globe, and we operate out of 120 countries. And, right now we are hiring for 400 plus technology folks, just in case people in the audience are interested. We have a lot of technology as well as HR open positions that we're hiring for. Okay, so having said that, I think I already told you that we are globally present in 120 countries. So working virtually is a part and parcel of our lives. I think at any given point when I'm having a huddle, I have at least one person on my team who's in their pajamas. So it's very common. We are a company which also fosters a lot of work from home culture as well. So working virtually has not been a huge challenge. I think that's been a part of our culture, and we encourage people to do that. I think the bigger problem post Friday, the 13th of March, was that a lot of people had a lot of issues on mental wellness after the lockdown, because they were not being able to network. They were not able to talk to a lot of their colleagues, which they do day on day out basis. So I think the bigger concerns that we wanted to address is mental wellness, as well as even ergonomics of a lot of people who are sitting out of their homes, probably lying down on the bed, not having the right chairs to work out of. So those were the bigger problems that we were facing, rather than just about working virtually. So I think those are the issues that we dealt with. But of course, for us, our employees are at the center of everything. So I think our efforts were to kind of make sure that all of them are feeling better, and that we did with a lot of constant communication, being very effective with our communication as well as authentic. We tried, the something which I really learned is, in the past when we were working from offices, I think you have control over a lot of things that are happening in office. So you have your death clutch. You can almost feel everything. You can almost see everything that is happening. But I think the learning that we had is to let go, because I know a lot of our employees, especially women, had not only take care of their kids and their family, but also kind of do the work simultaneously. So we came up with a lot of things, right? Like we kind of thought of 2 shifts in a day. So people, especially people who had to take care of younger kids, they did that in the morning. They probably started working in the afternoon, or worked in the morning, did work in the did household work in the afternoon, and then kind of also got back in the evening. So we kind of did a lot in that space. But also what happened because of the lockdown is we accelerated our entire way of looking at talent, and as well as the way of we could look at the way we work. So we're now encouraging a lot of freelancers to apply as well. So we're opening up a lot of freelance jobs as well, because if we can do a double shift day, you could then do 2 shifts in a day, so 4 hours each. So you could be a freelance worker with us. So we're managing virtual teams in a very different way. So I think we've learned a lot post the March 13th lockdown. But it's been interesting times, because this has helped us create a lot more other policies which are friendly for a lot of other people to apply as well. So this, I would say, this crisis is I know you Winston Churchill said that you should never let a crisis go for a waste. I think this crisis has helped us make complete use of the gig economy as well. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for that, Gautam. Tremendously intriguing and exciting insights over there. The best personal takeaway for me there, right there, was the 400 jobs available with Maersk Technology Services. So people, anybody and everybody who's listening or hearing to this, that is what needs to be focused on. Thank you very much for that, Gautam. Again, let those questions keep coming in, dear attendees. With that, I move on to our next panelist, that is Dr. Ankita, and she would now talk about the topic and how did her company evolve, not evolve, what worked, what didn't work. So all yours. Thank you, Ankita.
Thank you, Preeti, Vivek, and Kadar Amit, and LinkedIn Local for giving us this opportunity and picking up such a relevant topic, which I think everybody wants to talk about. So, if I share about CIGNEX Datamatics, I think we are still exploring, Preeti, because every day is a new day. We can't say that we have found the best magic potion which would work for rest of the days. One thing which we really managed initially before even the lockdown was announced, we made all our employees, work from home. So 100% people already started working from home even before the first lockdown was announced. So I would say we were a little more prepared. Obviously, we also had a mix of laptop and desktop guys, and it was not easy. But yes, when you prioritize, as very correctly mentioned by Jovina, you know which pockets should be addressed first. So we were very concerned about employee safety, and that's how we took it. So we walked down the lane in 3 phases. The first one was employees, where we just wanted to talk how safe they feel. Are they pressurized when we tell them to come to work? So we stopped talking about business, we stopped talking about culture, we stopped talking about fun at work or engagement. We were just focusing on just be home, be safe, and get comfort, speak to your family members, ensure everybody is safe at your end. And then we took the second step, which was about business continuity. So that's when we spoke to them, and we asked them to share their needs. Were we able to enable them properly so that they can take care of business while being at home? We connected with project managers, we connected with employees, just to understand if there is anything which is missed from our end. So that was the second phase, where we prepared them to take care of business. And then we moved to the third phase, which was more of engagement and culture, because we realized that employees are comfortable. We have communicated them with a lot. We have shared everything that is possible. There were a lot of questions whether our jobs will be safe. A lot of companies are doing a lot of things. How is CIGNEX going to react to it? Will I get my March salary, April salary, May salary? How things will change? So there are a lot of basic questions. They know that they have to manage project, and everybody is aware that they are managing it. But there are so many questions they want to get answers to, and I think we took that as priority. We were always there. Communication we have kept as number one. And we have always been there. So before we announced all is well, which is an initiative for projects, just to understand if you are able to manage your client and other stakeholders well, we spoke much more about we care, where we just wanted to show them that it's okay, business will come back to its track, but what we care most is you and our resources. And as Vinay very clearly and rightly pointed out, that we are becoming more human now, because we understand, we see how people are stressed out. So that has been the chain, that has been the value. And we definitely didn't adopt Preeti what other organizations are doing blindly. We try to understand where we are, what we actually need to implement, which are the best practices, and if this is the right time to go ahead with that. So we started with hygiene practices, very basic things, be it respect to salary, their systems, their internet connectivity, their connect with managers, right expectation with respect to working hours, the work that has been allocated to them. So initially we just took care of that. And I would say from survival mode, we moved to continuity mode very quickly. And at this point in time, we are working on more productive stage, where we can be more fruitful. We can engage with employees well, and at the same time, we can take care of client really well. And we are still parallelly trying to figure out how we can move from continuity to sustainable model. So that'll be the phase. And I would say thing that has worked for us, we have always asked these two questions: why we want to do this and what we want to do this. And that has really helped. To answer your question, which is one hope and probably one fear, I I'm I'm very hopeful that this phase has taught us, you have to be prepared. Now we will not wait for any uncertain situation to just come and hit us. We will explore our complete capabilities, and we understanding our limitations at the same time, and we will be prepared, more than repairing it at the later stage. So that's the hope, that everybody will take up that as a learning from what we have gone through. And fear is probably, as few of us mentioned, we may go back to our comfort zone. So, because at this point in time, we are forced. Even if you want to go back to work, we can't. We can't allow our employees. We know that there are few profiles where travel will be important, but many of us, where it's not mandatory, where it's not a necessity, we still end up doing it. And that's my fear, that once this restriction or post implication is removed, probably we will head back to the comfort zone. So that's my take on that, Preeti.
Thank you so much for that, Ankita. Wonderful to hear one more company going back to being human again. So, cheers and kudos for all of that. Once again, attendees, so many insights, so many different options and opinions coming through. Please make use of all of this knowledge and put in those questions right here. TA, HR fraternity folks that are here with us today, please put down your questions right here. With that, I move on to Aditya Pal Singh, my dear friend Adi, who will be talking about his views on the topic along with one hope and one fear. All yours, Adi. Thank you.
Thanks, Preeti. Thanks, Preeti. And the good part of going glasses, since all of you have touched upon the basic aspects, I will not try and dwell on those for everybody else. One good thing which we did is before the lockdown even happened is we ran few pilots in advance with some of those teams so that we knew what is required for a team to work 100% from home. So we did that with multiple teams so that we were ready for it. And the good part is the BCP was not lot of time we have paper BCP. So we actually, it was a BCP which was in place of making sure the work continues to happen even if people are not there. So we had a very strong BCP in place, which really helped us. And to what Ankita also spoke about and Vinay spoke about, we did pretty similar things when it comes to making sure the employees' basic needs were met. And if I don't know, some of you remember Maslow's theory, we're basically hitting the bottom line right now, right? The basic needs, right? So that's what we basically transpired from one level to another one. I'm sure whoever's read Maslow's will understand this far more easier. We moved that. What we felt and what I also felt is, it needs to be all about the employees. We felt that basic things on checking on how are you today, right? Simple checks and doing a little more FaceTime than expected because physically is very different to virtually managing. So you can see the person's reaction. Sometimes the reaction is a little dated, but then to some extent to see how are they feeling, right? Talk to them about what has been their big wins, small wins, for them to know you care about them as an individual. Funny part is, while word looks transactional, the goals, right? The goals were most of us are set were when we were physically in office, right? The goals have evolved, right? So it's time to maybe throw some of them out in the bin and relook at the goals, right? From an organization standpoint, because some of us are in that phase of setting their goals, right? So looking at how do you make sure that virtually you are actually far more productive. And I think so too, what my friend Jovina, she talked about, the productivity actually has gone up because if you're in Bangalore, you don't need to travel, so you don't hit the traffic at all. So that's the plus point of not traveling at all. What my biggest hope is that COVID has done one good thing: adoption of technology. I hope, and I don't know if there's Martek's law, and some of my panelists will laugh because I remember doing this in some of the panel. Martek laws talks about adoption of technology, and COVID has pushed it up so that adoption is far more faster. So I hope that even post-COVID, this continues to adopt at a faster pace so that we are ready for anything to everything. And my fear sometimes is the flexibility, and if we go back to the old mode, might just vanish. Not talking about us, but I have a feeling that larger organization might not be so flexible when it comes back, if everything goes back to normal. Yeah, back to you, Preeti.
Thank you for that. So many insights, so many deep dives, and it's just like, a plethora of information available right there. So once again, dear attendees, please pay very good attention. You will have more solid gold nuggets of information dropping by. Please open up your minds and your hands and type those questions in the question answer section. With that, we are done with section 1, which was sharing of views by the panelists about the topic along with their one hope and one fear. As we proceed to the next part of the webinar, there will be a poll that will be coming up your way sometime. So please make sure the attendees, please address that. Let those questions keep coming in. Watch out for all the updates. This session will be available on YouTube as well. So if you want to go back and listen to any of the panelists once again, we will be passing on the YouTube detail. They are all there on our post on our page. So please make sure you peruse those. With that, thank you, panelists, for those excellent insights. More to come. But for now, it's over to you, Vivek, to take us through to the next section. Vivek?
All right, thank you, Preeti. So before we move to the next session where we discuss the question and answers, we thought it would be interesting to put in a session where we will ask some questions to the panelists, just to make this serious topic a little more fun. So what we are going to do is we are going to ask 2 questions to each panelist, not necessarily related to serious work, but in lighter vein. So my first question is for Jovina. Jovina, are you ready? Can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, I've done that.
Wonderful, thank you. So Jovina, first question, what do you miss while working from home? I mean, while you were working in office, what do you miss from there while you work at home now?
Ideation, the ability to go and scribble on a whiteboard and ideate a problem and find solution. I'm more a people's person, right? I need the group, the team around me, and then we sit together around a table and we find a solution to the problem. I miss that. But what is more insightful is that with this COVID, we had to find a lot of solutions sitting at home, and it was delightful to know that we could still get to the end result, even sitting at home. But the energy is something that I miss the most. You know, the ability to exchange, create that atmosphere of fun and joy while finding solutions to problems. That's the most important thing that I miss.
Interesting. So just a side question on this, from the virtual toolkit, is there a virtual board that you have created wherein you discuss with your teams, and so how do you solve that particular problem?
So we do have WebEx, and we use the Cisco WebEx very effectively. So we can share, presentations. We can go on a video chat, and we can draft, draw, and we can have it very live. We do have creatively, we as a team thought that we could use some charts in our own respective residences so that we could draw, because we're so used to it, and keep ourselves prepared before we come for a meeting. So that's what we do. We kind of think about what the subject is going to be discussed the next day, pick up a subject and start sharing information. Interestingly, what has also happened is that there's a lot of preparation, because you don't wait to come to office to discuss. So the new trend is that you start preparing well in advance to make a meeting effective, because you cannot be attentive for hours together on a video chat or on a phone call. So you are well prepared, and I think that is where the effectiveness has increased.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. So I have your second question with me.
Yeah.
Interesting incident that comes to your mind while you have been working from home with your team, or independently?
The most interesting thing that happened was, a couple of our employees, couldn't get access to internet, and it's very, very interesting that they went and found on their own some internet connections, and they went to their managers and said, "We are ready to work. Would you be able to send the systems over to this address, and we would like to start working and supporting our team members?" Because this time, our organization is a health insurance organization, and it's an American health insurance organization. Claims were rising. Our claims had risen to 130%, and we had lots of work coming through. And it is very gratifying to see employees, living one of our values. Or one of our values is compassion, and the second is relationships. And we see that across the enterprise, people are living this value very, very stoically. The value of compassion, and this is what I saw, and it was really very gratifying that people, instead of finding excuses, were coming and telling us, "We want to work. Can you help us get the systems home so that we can start contributing?" So really, the human spirit is what I think COVID-19 taught us.
Wonderful. I think you have a great team there. Thank you very much, Jovina. We'll move next to Vinay. Vinay, you ready?
Yep.
Wonderful. So Vinay, my first question, what is the one thing you did while working from home that your boss doesn't know about? Or what is that one thing that you do that your boss doesn't know?
There are a lot of things that I don't tell my boss. So
You can name one here.
it's never.
You promise it will not go to him.
It's never. No. I mean, it's never one. So and there are a lot of things that I can't talk on public forum as well that my boss would. You would be smart here.
This is a difficult question because you have to choose carefully.
No, everything that my boss doesn't know is something that I would not discuss on a public forum. So now I don't know what to choose and what not to choose.
Do you want me to ask another question?
Yeah, pass.
Okay, so the second question for you. What is your favorite time of the day during work from home?
My happy time is 10 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. That's the favorite time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vinay. Amit, over to you.
Okay, I'll be asking the question to Gautam.
Yeah, Amit.
TikTok or Netflix?
Netflix for sure. I'm not on TikTok, but Netflix for sure.
Okay, and when it comes to the games that people play during work from home, what's your favorite?
Well, I'm not a gaming person, but all I'm right now doing is completing Game of Thrones. That's all I can tell you.
Well, there is a game involved in there somewhere.
No, not really. I'm not a gaming person at all, but yeah, I think if they'd come up with something to do with Spider-Man, I would definitely play that game.
I think you'll have to go on to PS4 for that. My son is crazy about the Spider-Man game over there.
Yeah.
Over to Preeti now.
Thank you so much for that, Amit. Ankita, hi. Are you ready?
Yes, Trivedi. Hi.
Okay. What is your dress code while work from home?
Casuals.
Okay. And going on to that, what
You're not very particular about what you're wearing, whatever you're comfortable with. There is no defined dress code as such.
Okay, all right. And favorite time pass activities?
Playing with my 10 months old daughter.
Okay, fair enough. That's really good. So thank you for that. With that, I'll move on to Aditya. Hey, Adi, are you working more or less as compared to before?
Good question.
Okay, that's your answer.
No, just joking. No, I effectively utilize my time, so it's pretty much similar to what it was earlier. In fact, I'm saving more time by virtue of not traveling.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you are in Bangalore, so obviously, yeah, a lot of time saved. On a serious or lighter note, whichever way you want to take it, what would you advise the professionals to do during lockdown? Online course or play video games?
I would recommend neither. I would recommend if you're staying in an apartment, walk. It clears your mind. If you have, I know you can't go to gyms, but at least in the apartment you can walk. I feel that really helps. I surprisingly walk about 6 kilometers in the morning and 6 in the night. So I do 12 in a day. So it clears my mind. It clears your mind with a lot of other things. Listen to music. That's what helps me because I do a lot of reading. So that helps me just to assimilate a lot of things which been traveling all across during my mind.
Lovely, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for that. So great insights. I mean, after all, we are all humans, and this is the right time to actually be in touch with ourselves. So yeah, on lighter notes, each of us need our de-stressing time. It could be anything, playing a video game, playing with our children, siblings, whatever else it is. So with that, once again, attendees, please let those questions keep coming in. If you would want them to be addressed by a particular panelist, please make sure you write down their names along with your question clearly and concisely in the question and answer box. With this, I am going to be launching the poll as well now. So as and when you have the time, please take the poll and we will move on to the next section, which is question and answer, which will be done live. And to start that, I will hand the proceedings back over to Vivek. All yours, Vivek. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Preeti. A lot of interesting questions have come in. Thank you, audience, for that. So we'll begin the question and answer session. The first question is from Nihali Gohil. She's asking, which are the new skills HR should develop in the new corporate world due to COVID, when companies will also be changing a lot of policies? She hasn't named a panelist. I would request Jovina to take this up, and then if wants to.
Can you repeat the question? I just kind of.
The question is, which are the new skills HR should develop in the new corporate world due to COVID, when companies are also changing a lot of policies?
The number one skill is we need to relook into the way we present work, especially in talent acquisition. The kind of people that we will now hire, and as policy, the government is also thinking of work from home being a policy that they might ask companies to adopt. In terms of talent acquisition, to look at other opportunities, like make diversity and inclusion a part of the agenda of talent acquisition, and look at resources very, very differently. The second most important thing is to have the skill and the ability to start looking at your pay and benefits very differently. That's another area that we might have to start honing up our skills to think very, very differently from what we were doing up till now, especially in the benefits uh, area. In terms of learning and development, we will have to start looking at models and platforms that are way different from what we have adopted with virtual and digitized way of learning becoming a order of the day. And in that sense, I feel that the number of HR partners will increase from a consulting perspective. A lot of work will go into go into external specialized HR organizations, because you could get those jobs done by people externally. And that is going to be the order of the day. So I think as an HR person, number one is it's very, very important for us to start building a cohort and a community where we're constantly having conversations, because the next 1 or 2 years is really going to define what kind of programs we are going to have, and it's going to be ever changing until it gets into some maturity. So start pushing yourselves and getting to know and talk to external other HR fraternity. The second most important thing is to start thinking on the feet, because every organization will require its people to be dealt differently, so there will not be a size fits all. So that is the second thing. You will have to be agile in your thinking and in your programs. And another thing is that the human element will start becoming very, very important. And, we will have to start paying more attention to mental health and physical health of employees as well.
All right. Thank you, Jovina. There, I think Aditya wants to also add some points here. Please, Aditya.
Thanks, Vivek. Let me just broaden it to some extent of looking at how would you manage, from a skill standpoint, right? Irrespective of the function which you do in HR, right? One, I feel the ability to solve problems, right? Specifically complex problems, right? The way things are moving, your ability to manage complex problem solving will be very, very critical. And obviously critical thinking is very, very important, because you need that ability for you as an individual. Creativity becomes a very, very important part in HR, irrespective of whatever function which you do, because as simple as that, now how do you attract workforce for the future, right? As simple as that. People management has gone a step further. Now, how do you manage virtual workforce, right? I'm sure a lot of people would have put that question, right? Emotional intelligence comes into play, and very critical part is uh, more service orientation, right? KYC, know your customer. For us, it's all the employees which are in the organization, right? They're part of the whole life cycle. And last but not the least, your cognitive flexibility, right? Your ability to do multiple things at the same time, but have the ability to switch off and then move into doing something else at the period of time. I feel these are, irrespective of the functions which you do in HR, you would need this important skills for you to thrive further. Back to you, Vivek.
All right, thank you, Aditya. Anybody else who wants to take this up?
Yeah, and I think adding to the creativity part, right? I think especially people who are wanting to interview need to hone up virtual interviews from here onwards, because I think the person-to-person interview is completely going off, and I think that is going to be the way of life even after things come back to normal, because it is saving a lot of cost, it is saving a lot of travel time for a lot of candidates. Maybe you should also look at video resumes from here onwards to get a lot more creative and getting the message out there.
Great. Thank you, Gautam. So we'll move on to the next question. This is a real case scenario. The person has not given his name. He says that my company hasn't paid salary for the last 3 months. There's no proper communication when they're going to do it. And I am the only HR in my company. What should I do, or what steps should I take? It's becoming very tough to handle the employees.
Let me take a attempt at this one.
Please.
I think we need to understand, and this is to everybody here who are attending this webinar. These are really times that nobody had planned for. The best of BCP plans had to be reworked in the best of the organizations to deal with this pandemic. I'm talking of best of the organizations. A lot of organizations had to make a lot of knee-jerk decisions to sort of turn their boat around to make sure that they survive this pandemic. Okay, so a lot of organizations may take a lot of arbitrary steps, and unfortunately, so they could also be ones that will impact people's pay and employment opportunities. I think as HR, if there's anything that you could do is, and that's what I would have done, is to nudge the management to come out with an open and transparent communication explaining the crisis that they have at hand. While anyways there's going to be backlash from people, but at least when people are made aware, the severity of that backlash reduces quite a lot, because the situation is what it is. And if there's anything that you could do as an HR is to get your management to have a transparent conversation with 2 or 3 key things. One is where you guys stand, what is the plan of action to turn this around, if there is any, and if there is no plan of action, then what is the steps that they're expected to take. This will at least help people in their mind understand how to deal with this, because more often than not, anxiety increases when there is no response. If somebody is communicating and if there is response, a lot of anxiety reduces and people would anyways understand. So that's my 2 cents on this one.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Vinay. We'll move on to the next question. This question is for Ankita. The question is from Sangini Mancharamani. She says, building relationships and networking is an important aspect of company culture. Being a fresher, I feel I would lose onto these opportunities if things were to be managed virtually. How does one gain the most out of this?
A very valid question, and I think all of us in HR are very worried about it, that how do we handle or manage human part of HR. So we keep talking about it, that it has to be, the human aspect has to be retained, but how do you do it? Because there are many people who are still not comfortable. When we used to get calls from our friends, and they would say, but we spoke to you on phone, and we would still say, but when are we meeting? Because physical presence, connect, it has always been very important. So I agree that's a miss at this point in time, but I would suggest, or I would take it in a different manner, that virtual tools are enablers at this point in time, because you, even if you want, you cannot show the human touch in any of your processes. So at this point in time, when things are not available, you should stick to it. You should still use it to the maximum capability, and utilize virtual tools in the best possible manner. But when things go normal, nobody is restricting you from finding a right mix. So you use virtual tools and AI and whatever, and everything that we have with us, which can enable us, but this, at the same time, do maintain the right human connect or touch with respect to meeting people individually. And I still, when we interact with our team members, they say that it's okay, we have received your birthday card, we got a call from you, but we still miss physical cake cutting, and that will remain the scenario forever. So yes, I think we should just wait for things to get normal, and we should get the right mix instead of relying too much on just human touch or being virtual. I think Vivek,
See, I
Preeti, or
think
me.
Vivek's feed is frozen. I'll take it on from
Yeah.
here.
No, it's okay. I'm right here. So yeah, actually, yes, Amit, go on then. Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Uh, Taking on with the questions, I think there's a very pertinent question which has come in from an attendee. This is the aspect about the human part. As we had discussed, that meeting people in person is going to be the way that people connect. And online, especially the freshers are not able to do that. This is from Swati Shri Mohanty, and I will direct it to Gautam Shetty. Swati Shri Mohanty is writing, we all spoke about productivity having gone up. In the same time, she says that there is input from employees that the work pressure is too high and they are not able to make a balance between personal and professional life being at home. It's more of a work at home than a work from home that is happening for them. Uh, how do they make sense of this, Gautam?
I agree. I agree. While a lot of people are saying that it's productive, it could be, but I feel that there's a lot more work that is happening from home, which means that you are compromising on your personal time. And I think leaders need to own up to that, right? I've also had scenarios where some of the spouses are complaining, "Why is your manager calling you 3 times a day?" And they have their own doubts about how things are going on in office. So it's a very fine balance that people need to draw, and I think leaders need to take onus of how they are really working with their employees. Like I said, the more you try to control, you're not going to get a feeler of what your team member is feeling. So you need to let go a little bit, set expectations for results, and let them do it the way they want. As in, they can do it in the middle of the night if they feel that is the most comfortable time to do it. I think you need to set results and have your expectations right. But you shouldn't try and be the micromanager. I think that's the best way out. But I totally feel that productivity might have increased, but it is also eating into a lot of personal space. So managers need to clearly make that decision of where they need to cut off. You can't call people on a Saturday, Sunday just because you know that they don't have any other assignment and they're just at home and not going out. I think leaders need to take that call and make sure that they're not eating into people's personal spaces.
Thank you.
Amit, also to add on, to one thing is also to understand why is this happening, right? This is happening because of one basic reason is if 3 people were doing it, you have one person who's exited. A lot of organizations are not getting backfills back in the organization. So basically you're stretching the work between of 3 people for 2 people to do it, right? So there is some amount of stretch which has happened, right? Because of that, a lot of people do feel overworked. also overworked from a fact of they're not doing effective time management, right? You need to set expectations with your supervisor on saying that while the job involves me from this time to this time, there would be times when I'll not be available, right? I will not pick up your first call when you pick up, give me a call, right? You need to set expectations also from that angle, right? Of saying that I may not be available at this period of time. I just need to sit with my child who's going through online class at the period of time, right? You have multiple things which have come into play, but I completely agree with the gentleman, obviously with Gautam, that we need to set expectations on our availability, see how work can be done more effectively, but voice out the concerns. Can't sit and not voice out at all.
Yeah, and I also
Yeah, please, Jovina, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I also think that this is situation bound. This is whatever that we're going through right now, the hurry, the rush, probably it is situation. It's a 60-day journey that we've gone through. We might have to go through another 90 days. I think communication is very, very important. It's also we also do get employees because of the organization or the part of the enterprise that I work for is mostly the ITES and a very specifically a process driven organization. We realize that we have to be flexible. We cannot. So there are some employees who say I will only work office timing. There are some employees who say I have downtime issues. Can you give me the liberty to work, but within a particular window? I think we need to listen to them and we need to enable. But I don't think so that maturity will set in right now. But what is good that's happening across the HR fraternity is that there's a lot of conversation that's happening in making this as a part of our daily existence. And because it's becoming a part of our daily existence, there's a lot of thought process that's going in. There's discussions on if we are looking at full time work at home instead of telecommunicators who will also come to office and work part time. But if we're looking at full time work at home, do we look at different time zones? We call them as free time zones. So lunch break instead of 45 minutes if you were in office becomes a 2 hour or a 1.5 hour no phone call time zone, meeting time zone. So I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of putting those structures in place. And COVID has kind of awakened us into that particular atmosphere and world, and we are going in that direction. So if 30% of my population is going to work from home, then I will have to build up a process system structure that's very different for those people, and then intertwine as to how can my people who are working at office and the people who are working at home seamlessly integrate when it comes to an overall functional efficiency. So that is what I think most of us are discussing in our respective offices and roles. And I think, as the days go by, we will be able to find right answers for those questions.
Thank you, Jovina. Taking on the question about the productivity part when teams are working online and they're being virtual for the first time, the question is coming on from someone that if this situation were to extend for another month or maybe even more than that, how would the companies react? Would the online component become a permanent fixture of those companies, or would they revert back to a more traditional manner? Will they be some sort of a hybrid model? And more importantly, will people get fired? Will companies optimize in name of work from home? I'll come first to Dr. Ankita and then take in some pointers from Aditya also on this. Dr. Ankita.
Amit, I think you answered the question. It's going to be a hybrid model for, I think, most of us, because you have to find the right balance. Obviously, if it extends for 3 more months or 6 more months, we all will be getting more used to it. We will understand what we are capable of, what we should be changing, what we should not be changing, what will get more comfort to our employees, and at the same time, what will bring more continuity and productivity to our business. we are learning these things on daily basis. We just can't plan what will happen after 2 months or probably next week, because everything is changing. Maybe we are able to balance a lot of things at our level in our organization, but when we talk about client, I'm sure each one of us are getting mails from client which is either about delaying payment or negotiation on rate cards. So few things are beyond our control, and but those things will directly impact our business. So there is no clarity how things would be if at all it further gets extended. What we can definitely be sure of is, our capabilities, our limitations, what we are ready to do, what is the best suited option for our organization and our people. And I think each organization is building up on these concepts, and we will continue doing so, Amit.
Aditya.
Uh, Interesting question. It really depends, and if you say the lockdown will continue, let's say bring it on, it will continue for a longer period of time. Let's be very honest with that fact, right? Unless until it self mutates, that will be a good sign to see. But as of now, it really depends, Amit, on the model of the organization, the way it functions, right? If it's a pure play delivery organization to a pure play mix of both, right? But for majority of the technology companies, which I can speak about, with the government giving some amount of flexibility, it's only helping them to get things done far more effectively from home. It will, and in due course of time, be uh, not exactly like a hybrid model. To some extent, it will be a 30% work from home to 70% physical, because you might just say in a week maybe I'll go twice or thrice a week, right? Thrice in a week. So it will sustain, but it really depends on the organization. But majority of technology companies should be okay with the fact of running it from the homes from a period of time. But the most critical part, and I always fail, which the part which we will learn and evolve, is how do you manage the workforce virtually. Is everybody's learning on it as we go further. So that's one phase which we need to learn. You're on mute.
I think, Amit, to add to that, right? For me, nothing feels very different today because I am working with a global team. I don't see my teams on a daily basis, so it is virtual working always. I think it's just about getting used to it, and I think if while we continue doing this, I think most of us will get used to how to assess people, how to figure out productivity. It's just about that switch that is needed to happen, and I think we'll all get used to it. Today, it doesn't feel any different for me working from home because I've always done this in the past.
Taking on the next question from Sarthak, this will be to Vinay. What Sarthak is saying is that there is likely going to be a glut in the job market, that there will be people who have been fired and who are looking for jobs. There are people who are now looking for jobs, who are coming into the job market for the first time. So is it going to be a good situation for the HR that you will have a lot of people to choose from? Or is it that the best talent, as always, will be tough to find?
So, first of all, I think Sarthak has been following LinkedIn Local online very religiously, and thank you for being a good patron of this platform. Uh, to uh, to answer Sarthak's question, I think, I don't think HR wants to have a situation of a crisis to have a lot of talent available. I mean, that's the least of the things that I think any HR professional would subscribe to. Definitely, this is we're in the middle of the storm. Like I said, we're in the middle of a storm right now. You would definitely see some negative effects of this on a certain industry more than most industries. Also, there'll be a lot of industries that'll start booming. Like as human beings, we don't like change. A crisis often pushes us to adopt to changes. So what is going to happen is a lot of things that would have possibly taken 10 years have now accelerated to happen now. So the future is now because of this crisis that just came and hit us. I'll give you examples. BPO industry. Jovina is here from the ITES side. BPO industry never imagined they could work from home, but the entire industry is working from home today, and they're productive and they're managing the workforce. Banking and insurance industry never thought that they could work remotely or work from home. They're all working from home right now. So I think a lot of good things will happen out of a crisis, and that is the same case with opportunities as well. Now, a lot of edutech industries, for example, when people thought online learning, India is way behind and will take a lot of years to take that leap. I think we've taken that leap. So edutech is going to definitely improve a lot. I was reading Harish Bijur's tweet, and he said that what Osama bin Laden did to security industry globally, this pandemic will do to the health industry globally. And I think all of us will definitely be much more conscious, which means health tech is going to improve. So there are a lot of industries that'll definitely grow, and things will fall in place. That's my take.
Yeah, I think I'll add. I think Sarthak had a question for me. I just told him that I would answer that for him as well. He wanted to know that a lot of startups are folding up, and we are announcing 400 plus positions. So Sarthak, just to answer you a little better, and what are we doing differently? We are a shipping and logistics company, so we are at the core of a lot of supply chain right now. So I think we announced our first quarter results, and fabulous first quarter results. In fact, even better than 2019. So we're doing a lot of work in, and I think supply chain is booming right now because of the pandemic as well. Because there is a lot of essential goods, a lot of grocery, a lot of pharmaceutical being shipped across the world. So that's why we're doing a lot of profits right now. And what we're really doing to help the society right now is we understand that we see a lot of, startups are folding up. So we're doing a lot of acqui-hiring at this point in time. We're also looking at talent who've lost their jobs first, then going after talent who's already got a job. Assessing them and then taking them on. So we've got a database of 120,000 people who've lost their jobs across India. So we're trying to first employ the best out of that lot before we go out and look at people from other companies.
There's been some amazing inputs from the panel. Thank you for your interaction. Handing over now to Preeti.
Thank you for that, Amit. So the next question here is from Sushmita Lonkar, and I'll address this to you, Dr. Ankita. So she goes, how should a company work on optimistic quotient and EQ, emotional quotient, simultaneously? When we hear everyday companies firing employees at a mass, and then there are these students who join volunteer and ready to join a corporate world. So how do you balance between the optimistic quotient and the EQ between all this hiring and firing that is happening? Ankita?
Yeah, thanks, Preeti. I think there has to be a reason why any company is doing anything. And if at all we have that reason clearly defined and we are able to communicate it clearly with, required transparency to our employees, probably there will be no negativity, because freshers who are about to join the organization, or any third person who is about to join the organization, they generally get to hear about this negativity through our different social media platforms. And employees who are probably not well connected, or who didn't get answer to all the questions, they are the ones who would write negative about the company, and that certainly will reach out to other people. So as a lot of people have already covered, Vinay also mentioned, and others as well, that you have to be very clear. Whatever you are doing, you have to tell your team members, you have to tell your employees that this is the reason behind it. I'm sure everybody, all management people, they have sent out a mail to all their employees saying that we are in it together. But when we go about defining this, probably they would say, organization is working in this particular format, and because of it, because we are not able to perform, you will have to face the heat. So suddenly the togetherness vanishes. And still, if at all that's the case, you have to tell them that this is the situation now and this is how it will improve later. So to answer this, I would say positivity has to be maintained within the organization, and that will only be possible if you are clear about your intentions. you share the bigger picture with your employees. You tell them that this is how you have to contribute, this is how we all have to be together for this duration, and probably when things are back, things will be normal. And obviously layoffs are happening, we are releasing people, but a lot of companies, they used to do it earlier as well. It's not only because of COVID. So you need to clearly tell them that people who were hired for a specific project, they have been released. So that communication is, because it's not clearly told to employees, this is causing a lot of confusion. So clearly communicate, ensure that positivity is maintained within the system, by sharing your um, current phase clearly with them, and that will go out to other people as well who are about to join the organization or who have very recently joined the organization.
Okay, thank
Um,
you for that. Oh, okay,
Preeti,
Jovina. Yeah, please.
just to add this, the most important thing that when we have to let go of people is to give dignity. I think that's the most important thing. People understand, and as long as you give them dignity when they're leaving the organization, and you assure them that there is an opportunity for you to come and join back whenever things go well for you, I think that kind of messaging and communication is very important. The second important thing is to communicate to their friends who still continue to stay back in the organization and who will continue their journey within the organization about the reason and why this is being done and how this gets affected, and to be conscious that it also creates ripples within the team that's staying back. This applies to organizations that will continue through this pandemic. There are organizations that fold down, then I think the best thing that we as fraternity should do is to ensure that, as Dr. Ankita said, that we should communicate and we should be timely in our communication. That's very important. Before somebody else communicates it to them, if we could communicate to them, if we could take care of these things, I think it would be a little more easier, because the most important thing is breaking two things. One is self confidence and self esteem. As long as we're not breaking the self confidence and self esteem of our employees, I think we are good to go.
Thank you for that, Jovina. That brings me to the next question. And before I go on to that, this is just a gentle reminder for all the community members that are attending here today. Please reach out to our panelists or to any of us via LinkedIn. Do send out a personalized note saying that you attended the webinar today and you have more questions, or you want to ask a different perspective or deep dive into any other thing that you might have in time. So make sure of that personalized note. Do send out a request. Please connect. So the next question is actually from my namesake. So another person called Preeti Chaudhary. And her question is to, yes, yes, Vinay, that is for you, because you have been onboarding a lot of employees right now. She goes, during these virtual times, how do you show to your employees that they belong to an organization when they are not physically with you? So basically it is for you, Vinay, and also for Gautam, your plans when you onboard all those new people that are coming in. Vinay, all yours first.
See, I think, we have been using this from a long time, and I've been talking about this in a few forums, including, I think, one of the LinkedIn local online forum as well. We use storyboarding instead of onboarding. And that's worked as a very powerful tool for us to engage our people in or integrate our people into the mission of the organization. Storyboarding is not very complicated. You don't need any science around it. You don't need too much of preparation. All we did was every department head had a story of their department and how their department really impacts the organization. Whenever somebody comes on board, we share the department story. Instantly, there is a connect with the department's mission and alignment to the vision of the organization. So when you start doing that, we realize that even virtually, when people had to be onboarded, these stories really work wonders for us, because people were aligned. You really didn't miss meeting them in person, because everybody loves stories. I mean, I remember my granny's stories when I was a child, and I think we all love stories or listen to stories, right? It's a powerful tool. So we use storyboarding, and I encourage all HR folks listening in here that try the story method. You will really be successful. So that's what we do.
Thank you for that, Vinay. And Gautam, what are your plans for these 400 new hires that you plan to take on board? All yours.
Yeah, and Preeti, like I earlier alluded, we hire people from all around the world. So our onboarding has always been virtual. While we definitely do a lot of onboarding when people are in front of us, and it's a one-on-one basis. But for anybody who's remotely working, we have a virtual onboarding session as well. It's very similar to what Vinay said, where people, maybe the facilities team is taking the person through an entire process, and the finance team is taking through the taking the new team member through an entire process. And there is also like a personalized message which goes on WhatsApp before somebody joins from our MD addressing the person, and it's an AI tool which does it for us, but at least it feels a lot more personal for a lot of our candidates to kind of get a note from the managing director directly. And of course, what we do is we also assign a buddy for the new joiner. So the buddy is always with him for the first 1 month, and of course, towards the end of the month, we allow the the new team member to rate us and give us feedback. And of course, the feedback is taken seriously, and we try and kind of fix any issues that they've had. But typically, everything is virtual for us.
Okay, thank you for that, Gautam. The next question is from an anonymous attendee, and this is for you, Aditya. It says, just curious to know what, apart from hiring, your respective companies are doing. And you would like to know from you, since you said that HR should concentrate on problem solving skills and become more process oriented. So what do you mean by that exactly? Is this what this attendee is wanting to know? And I guess they are from an HR firm because they've gone anonymous over here.
No worries.
Aditya?
I'm assuming I didn't say process oriented, I said service oriented.
Okay.
Because that's the skill which I talked about. So the question is, apart from hiring, what your respective companies are doing? They're still hiring. So so the other part is basically the organization. Everybody has a role to play. Mental health and the employee well-being is the critical part, irrespective of the function which you're part of. So those are very critical part of any organization which all of us are part of. Is the forte for an organization, making sure the employee is comfortable, the employee is healthy, wealthy, and make sure that they deliver what is expected out of them. That's the core role for anybody, irrespective of the function which he or she plays in. Now, the second part of the question was looking at, while the point was taken something else, but my question, the problem was to looking at things where you have the ability to look at things from a ability to problem solve, right? Ability to think critically at that moment of time. As an example which comes across, you remember when we started onboarding to offboarding, suddenly the criteria of saying, hey, what do we do with the laptops, right? People who are offboarding, so ability to think on the feet at that period of time, and this is during lockdowns, where organizations said, hey, we will do the full and final, and we trust the employee will hand over the laptop whenever he or she can make it back to the office. So, that's what I talked about, the ability, so to think nimble and ability to solve problem at that period of time. Trusting the employee is something which is becoming a critical aspect.
Thank you for that, Aditya. And time enough for one last rapid fire question from all of the panelists here. Sushmita Lonkar, who is an HR fresher, would like to know one quick suggestion of a book to read. So I will start with you, Dr. Ankita. Any particular book you think? And I will come out I'll take names, and then basically you can come up with you might think in the meantime, and I'll take names for the answers, please. Dr. Ankita, all yours. One book you recommend for an HR fresher? Sushmita Lonkar wants to know. Thank you.
Just if at all you want to learn, probably we are all equally busy, or the day is quite distracted. So in place of book, I would suggest her to read relevant and current articles.
Okay. Thank you for that. Jovina, what would be your recommendation? Jovina, you're muted. Could you please unmute yourself? Jovina, could you please unmute yourself? Jovina? Okay, I'll come back to Jovina. In the meantime, Gautam, are you ready with your book suggestion?
Yeah, I think we had a panelist in one of our, LinkedIn local panel, Shruti Vijay. She'd written a book called "Does Your Network?" So, especially because you're a fresher, and I think that's very apt for you to do right now. I would suggest that you read that book. It's called "Does Your Network?" and it's fabulous. I've read it. It's fabulous. I think you should definitely read it.
Thank you, Gautam, for that. I do remember this was during the career transition physical event in Bangalore. That's when all of us were physically together. This was in January, and today we are sitting in May, and look at the difference the time has caused from then to now. I mean, unimaginable. Jovina, if you're ready, if you can please unmute yourself for Sushmita Lonkar. One book recommendation, please. Thank you, Gautam. Jovina, we cannot hear you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Sure. So, one book recommendation very quickly, please, for Sushmita Lonkar, who is a fresh HR professional.
So I was, my only suggestion is to read, Harvard Business Review. Kindly do that with a lot of case studies. And I think assimilation is far better when you do case studies than one book that will kind of give you kind of the message in detail. So kindly do read the Harvard Business Review and self-learn from those case studies.
Thank you so much for that. Aditya, coming to you, a book or any articles or any recommendation at all, please?
Yeah, I have a book, but my recommendation is if she is a fresher, so ask her if she can ask for pro bono project assignments from any of the companies. I think she should go ahead and ask if companies have projects. That will give her live experience. The second book is of one of my ex-bosses. This is Ramesh Sundarajan on HR analytics. I like people who talk data and analytics because you can easily make informed decisions. So he's one of my ex-bosses. Maybe go ahead and read that book.
Thank you for that tip. Last but not the least, my dear friend Vinay, how about your recommendation for anything to read at all, please?
After she's read a bunch of HBR articles, after she's got a heavy dose on analytics, or after she's figured out her net worth, I think she should read Tinkle for 20 minutes. If at all. I think a lot of us have forgotten, but that really is a good energy booster when you read Tinkle for 15-20 minutes. So she should also read that, is my view, and to everybody else.
Thank you for that.
In fact, Preeti, just to add to Vinay, we are getting back to Panchatantras and learning from, the great Indian texts in terms of management. Sometimes I think watching some movies and reading these kind of books might be on a lighter note, very, very helpful, especially now. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for that. And along with that, I am going to take the liberty to tell Sushmita Lonkar one recommendation from myself, and that would be VT Talks by Vinay Trivedi. Please go and have a look at that, because those are bite-sized, pieces of gems that anybody and everybody can imbibe, whether it is a fresher, an entrepreneur, a salaried person, whatever it is. So there you go. There you have it, which brings us to the end of 90 minutes of this webinar and to the work of saying thank you and all of that. So thank you very much to the dear attendees for being here today. Thank you to the panel for sparing your time and talking to us, spending all these wonderful moments with us. Thank you to our partners, Reboot Digital being our creative and digital partners. City Book Leaders are knowledge partners. Incubation Masters are virtual incubation masters. AIC Rays are incubation masters. Last but not the least, my co-host, Vivek Chadda and Colonel Amit Verma. This is me, Preeti Chaudhary, saying thank you and bye to everyone. Until the next time, which will be 22nd for the Pride webinar, along with 25th for the Veteran Spotlight, 27th for the Leveraging LinkedIn workshop, and 29th for the Community Connect. This is all of us signing off. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.